let's get this party started, folks. Good evening, and welcome to Lingua Musica, live from the White Horse in Black Mountain. I'm Joe Kendrick, very, very happy to be here once again live on linguamusica.com, and you can catch us on Twitter, and I'll be looking for your comments on our conversations tonight when you use the hashtag Lingua Musica. That's the # Lingua Musica. You can also go on Facebook to the Lingua Musica page and make comments there, and we'll be looking forward to hearing about you, about the music that you love, about the music business. Perhaps you're in the music business, or you're just a musician part-time, or doing things with music as part of everything else that you do. We're going to be talking about great concerts tonight. We're going to be talking about what makes that experience so necessary for so many of us. And we're going to have music from Asheville trio Grammar School. Our panelists tonight, Fred Mills from Blurt Magazine, River Gregarian, and Stephanie Morgan of Stephanie's Id. And we're very, very glad to have them. You can find out more about them and all of the Lingua Musica team on our website at linguamusicalive.com. I'm Joe Kendrick. Thank you very much for watching us and being with us tonight. I'd like to introduce the band Grammar School. They're going to play a tune before we have our first conversation about the business of music. Give it up for Grammar School.
You'll get bored. Take a break from this world, yeah. Sit a spell, do not disrupt. You could use a daffodil for a teacup. This is where I come to play. And today I think I'll stay. Oh, y'all can leave me, I'll be fine. I got something to ease my mind. Oh, and I'll be strong, even though it went wrong. Oh, for 2 hours or so. It's the smallest place I know to go. Getting smaller from here on out. All the way down in the hole, about as big as a cheer. Oh, 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 I made it out. Someone turned on the ceiling fan, oh, and there I go, floating with the flow, all the way down the hall. Is it just me, or is this place really small?
All right, many thanks. Grammar School live at the White Horse in Black Mountain as we kick off another round of Lingua Musica. I'm Joe Kendrick. Thank you so much for watching online at linguamusicalive.com. You can also interact with us as we talk about the business of music and great concerts when you tweet us at the hashtag, that's # Lingua Musica, also on Facebook at the Lingua Musica page. We're talking about the business of music tonight. Is it really something that you want to get into? You know, why are we in the business of music? I'm a DJ on the radio during the day. Stephanie Morgan, River Gregarian, performing artist. Fred Mills, a music journalist. We're surrounded by people that are like us, but really, what does it mean to be in the business of music? Does it mean that you make a lot of money? Does it mean that you make no money? There's examples at both ends of the spectrum. And what we want to talk about is to first say about it is a business. It is something that you need to go in and realize that you need to have some discipline. You need to understand some of the realities of what you're getting into and not go in completely wide-eyed and think that everything is going to be just rosy and fantastic. It's easy to look at a lot of the people in the music business and think that they've got it made, that they're just having a blast, that they've got all this money, they've sold all these records, they've got people coming through the door of their venue, of their club, of their store, what have you. Well, you know, the grass is greener on the other side. And there is a lot of that misconception going on out there. But at the same time, it's a lot of fun. I have a great deal of fun. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I couldn't keep away from doing it. I've been a DJ on the air for over half of my life. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And so that's what we're talking about. We want to talk about what really makes it a good thing to do, some of the examples of what's wrong in the music business and what you can do as a lover of music to help the artists and help the overall business of music and the music culture keep going forward. Hand it off first to Stephanie Morgan.
I think that the music business for a, speaking from the perspective of a performing musician, is really whatever you want to make of it. And I would... I'll disagree with you right off the bat in saying that I think if you don't want to make a business out of it, you don't really have to. You know, you can be somebody who plays music in the living room and really loves that, and then never think again about it. But I think what we're here today to talk about it is you know, people who do make a business out of it and how we sort of piece that together. And so, you know, I know River and I both do that in various ways, and I guess we'll kind of get into that, yeah? You want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to make it something that is your sole source of living. You don't,
yeah.
You don't, and probably most people in music are in that category. I mean, there's very few people that are making millions of dollars in music. There are many fewer that are making great sums of money. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? There's a little bit of both going on here.
Well, I think with music, there's only a certain amount that any culture needs. So, you know, because basically you have to go on with your life and do things. For example, I was a freelance musician in New York, and I'm a full-time musician here in Asheville for the last 10 years. But in between, for 5 years, I didn't play professionally, and I was kind of living off the grid. And there you have to take care of yourself in certain ways. And music, you know, it's it's an important part of what we do, but a small part. So I think that's why a lot of people think they want to do music like professionally, but it's not necessary to get your, you know, not to say, to get your rocks off, or to get to that kind of transcendental place that a guy who has never played in public but plays in his living room goes through. If you could manage to maintain that and have that same feeling when Stephanie goes, you know, on stage and she's playing like she's still in the living room, and she could connect with people with that, that's why she's in it, you know, and that's why she's successful at it, because she's thinking purely about that aesthetic reason, about just sharing her musical sensibility and her love for humans, because that comes through an artist, what the vibration they're putting out on stage comes through more than just the words that are coming out of their mouth, you know.
But isn't it true that in order to do that and to get to the point where you can be up on a stage and people will come to see you, you're still going to have to kind of think of what you're doing as like a small business that you're operating.
Kind of, but you know, I get what you're saying, and I want to go there, but also I think it's really important to establish that you know, you don't have to, just like you don't have to wait to have any kind of other experience. You know, you the second you perform for your mom or your dad when you're 7, you're making music and you're starting that connection with people. So I think it starts out, you know, hopefully from a purely, you know, fun play kind of place, and I think that's what art is, you know, is creating something you just don't happen to see at that moment and you want to see it happen. So, you know, making that happen. And then, yeah, later on, if you decide that you're going to step into that place where you want to start to make some of your living from it, i.e., I want to spend more time doing this than, I don't know, crunching numbers or doing something that a degree could get me, then I think you start to apply, you know, where you look outside of that and you go, okay, well, what is this going to return back to me when I, you know, when I release what I have to give into the universe?
Well, you know, I think a lot of artists sometimes maybe even make a full cycle. I was at South by Southwest in Austin a few years ago, and Lou Reed was the keynote speaker. And I even wrote down a quote that I had originally written in my notes that just seemed beautiful, especially coming from a crusty old SOB like Lou Reed. Instinct makes the music. I try not to think. Instinct gets me there. And I think that's a really pure expression of how an artist can make the, for lack of a better term, channeling the creative muse operate. But it's entirely possible that Lou, you know, 10, 20, 30 years before he made that statement in Austin a few years ago, he might not have said that. He might have said,
Very true.
Making music is a real pain in the ass, and it's an uphill battle. And you know, Lou's been around long enough to kind of see the way the music industry was years ago and then how it's changed. And I think he's a very savvy guy, but it's kind of a beautiful thing for him to still be able to hold on to that notion about instinct.
Well, especially since the Velvet Underground, I was just watching this documentary about Velvet Underground not being recognized for a good amount of, you know, the time they were making those albums, nobody was listening to them except where they were playing live. So yeah, it's great that he maintains that kind of attitude.
Well, I've got a good comment here from Wendy Liu talking about how people need to go about this new age of music and using the digital networks and stuff. And we were talking about how music has changed and how the business of music has become more free. And in a literal sense, you know, 95% of downloads are not paid for in this day and age.
Free in the literal sense and not in the aesthetic and spiritual sense, right?
But so the business of music is a lot freer in that it's very easy for people to make and distribute music too. And what Wendy Liu is pointing out is that artists need to know how to use digital resources available.